Hi, Ciechanover. Nice to meet you here. Could you please tell us about your acquaintance with the academic and community research in China?
I am familiar with the academic system in China. I have friends in the biggest and best universities in China, let it be Beijing University, Tsinghua, Fudan. The system is moving very fast. I think that the Chinese in general invest huge amount of money in research, in R&D. They are developing programs to bring the best of scholars from abroad back to China. They even allow what Israeli institutes do not allow, to be half here and half there. So, because people are kind of hesitant of, moving all together. So they allow people, they show really a large degree of flexibility. So it's moving fast. I think about moving fast is also, you have to pay a price a little bit. And I think that the price at the beginning is a little bit of quality control. Of course, you see very good papers are coming out, but once you are comparing it to the amount of money invested and to the number of people, I would think that you can do more miles on the same gallon of gas than the Chinese are doing. But I think that this is kind of the disease of the beginning. I think that the Chinese are learning very fast. They do learn to appreciate quality. They will clean the margins. And gradually the system will develop to be maybe the best in the world or one of the best, but they are still learning the lessons. There is no doubt that China today, beside the United States, I think that it's the second biggest scientific superpower in the world, and you can see it in the results. They send satellites, they build their own weapon system, airplanes, aircraft carriers, so they do have quite a lot of knowledge. It's amazing how fast they move.
You have participated in the inception and establishment of GTIIT. Could you please tell something about this?
The idea started with Mr. Li Ka-shing in Hong Kong. They decided to build a university, a high-quality university in China, kind of giving back to China, which is his, country where he was born and grew up. And he examined several universities in the world, and at the end, he ended up choosing the Technion. It was at the time that Professor Peretz Lavie was the president, and the idea was kind of challenging for a small country like Israel building a university in China. And the choice was Shantou city in Guangdong province, which also was chosen purposefully, first because Mr. Li Ka-shing wanted to do it because he's supporting also Shantou University, which is there. He's close to the city. And also the city needed kind of a boost. And he thought that building a university there will boost the city. And I was joining it shortly after. So the first phase was planning. And we are planning it here in Israel, what faculties will participate, and so on. But the second, then there was the laying of the cornerstone and the construction, and then all the way to recruiting of the first and second class. And then I decided that, it's running and I should leave it. It was very challenging, but very interesting. We are working, I worked with Chinese people, Chinese educators, and it's very different than working here, but you are exposed to a different culture, different language, different food. I spent long periods in China, and it was really very nice to see from nothing, all of a sudden, universities coming up. The Chinese built it in a lightning speed. It took no time from laying the cornerstone to the inauguration, and it was very nice to see. For me, it was an enriching experience. I liked it. It was very nice.
Could you please tell us something about your view in GT's future and what is the potential in your eyes?
We tried to transfer, to convey the spirit of the Technion, which is mostly independence of thinking. Nobody should influence your thinking. You're free to fly on the wings of your imagination. Unfortunately, at the middle, we encountered the pandemic of COVID-19, so everything was kind of cut. We couldn't teach. Everything was done from remote. The staff left back to the countries. And now it's coming back again, but this was a severe interruption, which caused, we had at the beginning in our mind that students from China, from each class, will come and spend the semester in Israel. So this was interrupted. It's going to be renewed now. So there were, the young age plus the COVID-19 interrupted a little bit, slowed us a little bit. But all in all, I think it's a good university. Faculties were recruited. We are teaching already several disciplines from the Technion. More will come in the future. And I think that the university should ready itself to become independent, while Israel, the Technion will still keep some quality control surveillance of what's going on here. I think that the best testimony will come in years when we see where the graduates are. If the graduates will integrate into the Chinese economy and be successful, it means that we are successful. If the graduates will not do it, then probably we didn't do it well. But I think that the graduates, which is the product, will be the test. And they're still young. They're only they're spending very few years in the Chinese market. Some of them will go abroad to do, advanced studies. Then they might come back. So we need some time, but it looks like we are on the way, yes. So can you tell us a little bit about, just a little bit, about the subject that you are involved in? Describe a little bit the science, and the technologies that you learned here, and how much progress you have done in the year plus that you are here.
So here I joined in a project about the OnCore gene protein's stability within our ubiquitin system. What you are studied for years. And this job will try to discover the mechanism underlying in multiple cancer generation and development. I think it's very worthful for us, for our future. So I decided to extend my period here.
So basically what we are studying are stability of oncogenes we are using the platform that we discovered many years ago, the ubiquitin system. This is a proteolytic system to ask what role does it play in cancer and in stabilization or destabilization of proteins that cause it. So let me ask you a question. How is life in Israel? You like it?
Yeah, of course. Living and studying in Israel, I think, it's a fantastic journey for me. I have been exposed to the wide range of cultures, lifestyles, and ideas, and which have significantly improved me. I think they broadened my perspective. The academic environment here at Technion is quite rigorous, and they encourages critical thinking and innovation, which I find it is quite cool. The pace of life in Israel seems to be faster and more dynamic than the balanced life I was used to in China. And also Israeli culture encourages directness and encourages openness in communication. But while in China, we tend to communicate in a more indirect and harmonious way.
Zhiwen, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, about your background?
I'm from Tsinghua University, Peking Union Medical College, and majoring in oncology.
One of the best medical schools in China.
I appreciate it, thanks. And I have been doing research in Aaron Ciechanover's lab for around one and a half years. And as for why I came to Technion, it is the high technology achievements in oncology that attracts me. Especially it is a Noble Prize platform, so I'm sure I will learn a lot from here, and that can improve my profession in my future research.
So Zhiwen, tell me, what did you gain from your time in the lab, and how you believe that your stay here will affect
my future?
Your future, your research in the future. Can you tell us a little bit about it? Whether it was an effective time that you spent here, and whether you are going to take it further into your future.
And my time in Israel has had a profound impact on my life, I think, especially on my professional and my personal growth. Academically, I've been able to explore innovative research methodologies and work with a diverse group of scholars, which has broadened my perspective significantly. And this international exposure has also improved my cross-cultural communication skills. I think this is incredible, and this is also invaluable in our increasingly globalized world. And the research opportunities I've had here will certainly aid my future work. Working in a different academic environment, I have gained an understanding of how research is approached from a different cultural and academic perspective. This will not only enrich my future research, but also make me as a bridge between the Chinese and Israeli communities. And moreover, my stay in Israel has affected me personality. Yeah, for example, the experiences I've had and the people I've met widened my worldview and perspective towards not only research, but also the perspective towards my life. Yeah, so I can become more open-minded. And the challenges I face can also make me more resistant, yeah, and more adaptable. This is quite important and mean a lot to my growth. Yeah, I can have a chance to build a global network of peers and of mentors and of the colleagues. Yeah, and these connections can lead to a future collaboration for me, and I think it means a lot for my future research, not only as a doctor, but also as a scientist.
Yeah, I think that Zhiwen really raised here a very important point about networking. I think that science is kind of a transparent enterprise that, people don't care about their gender, sex, religion, skin color, anything. They are interested in science. And therefore, it's very easy for them to build a network. And the network is extremely important because you need reagents. You are invited to conferences. You expose yourself. You can send your own student, your own peers. I think that science is about being a member in a very seamless community. That's the idea. I think that that's the beauty of belonging to such an international community. I don't know any profession, maybe medicine, that is so international like science, which broadens your horizons and in a big way. And I think that Zhiwen was right in appreciating this point of staying in another country. Of course, your English improved. Now you made connections. You can come back. You can go elsewhere. So yeah, it's a very important point that you raised.
Could you please tell us something about the difference between GT and other universities in the world?
It's an interesting question. I think that the difference between universities is in the body of students. And I think that China, unlike Israel, it's very different. China is a big country, 1.5 billion people. And in order to control such a country, you need to be very organized. And you need to know, and very hierarchical. Not everybody can do whatever they want. Otherwise, everything will be a complete chaos. On the other hand, Israel is tiny and small, and everybody has an opinion, and everybody is doing what they want to do, and we are very chaotic. So chaos has an advantage because people are free, they say what they want, they are not afraid, and so on. But on the other hand, we are not organized. We are really, it's a mess here. If you don't know your way in this mess, you will fail. China is very hierarchical. People are afraid of challenging authority. In China, it will not happen. A student will not tell the professor that he made a mistake. Though he knows he made a mistake, he will not tell him that. So I think that we can learn from you how to run big projects, how to be organized, and you can learn from us how to open up a little bit and think, independently, having your own opinion. GTIIT is made of Chinese students, but Israeli teachers. So this collision of culture, I think, will be mutually benefit for both the Israelis and the Chinese. I think that the collision between these two different cultures, a culture that is more open but more chaotic, versus a culture that is more hierarchical but better organized, will bring something good.
Ciechanover are really curious about your background and your professional tips.
I grew up here in a country that just was born. It was a very poor country at the beginning. Studied in a high school here, and I registered initially to the Technion, but then I decided that I want to be a physician. At the Technion at that time didn't have a medical school, so I went to another university, to the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and I studied medicine. And then I served in the military. In Israel, there is a program. It's called the Academic Reserve. So you can first study and then come and serve in the military in your profession. So I went to study medicine in Jerusalem. Then I served in the military. I was a combat physician in the military, in the Israeli military for 3 years. And then I served for many years in the reserve. I became a lieutenant colonel, a high officer in the Israeli military. And then after being discharged from the military, I went to specialize in surgery. But I didn't complete my specialization. At the middle, I decided that I nevertheless attracted to science because I wanted to understand the basis like you are, the mechanism of diseases, rather than to cure them. I wanted to understand why they start. And I went to the Technion to do a Ph.D., a doctorate with Avram Hershko. And during the Ph.D., we discovered the ubiquitin system. At that time, we knew that it's new, but we didn't know that it's important. Only later, people discovered its importance. And then it was time to fly out of the nest. I didn't want to stay with my mentor. He was a very good mentor, but if you stay with your mentor in academic life, then you are identified with the mentor. So you are looking to build your own identity, and I went to MIT. I was offered many positions in the United States, but I decided to come back. And I came back to the Technion in '86, and I've been here ever since. I established my lab, started as a young assistant professor. And meanwhile, the system grew up, became very important. We got many accolades, including the Israel Prize, the Lasker Award, and finally the Nobel Prize. So Zhiwen's interest, as you heard from him directly, was in cancer. And since our system, the ubiquitin system, was developed into a very broad platform for development of anti-cancer drugs, that's what made him choosing our lab. And indeed, he's working here on one aspect of cancer. Of course, cancer is a complicated disease. You cannot work on cancer. We are always choosing something, but I'm seeing it as the beginning. Zhiwen is being here a year and a half. He will stay for another half year, completing his work. We are going to send it for publication soon. And he will go back to China to bring to China what he learned here. And we shall continue our ties. I will come to visit you. We shall continue our collaboration.
Yeah, for me, I will be a bridge between the China and Israeli community. That is what I'm longing for. Thank you.
Wonderful.